Hi guys, Ricky Pope here, and this week on the Christian Nerd Unite podcast, I talk with Arve Solli, the game designer behind GateZero, a story-rich adventure video game with time travel, first century Israel, and the gospel, plus scripture and nerdy news, and we'll get to all of that right after this.
Hey guys, this is Ashley Cox from Fangirling Over Jesus. At FOJ, we believe in hope and light in the darkness and that you are not alone. We seek to unite and celebrate the intersection of the gospel and our favorite fandoms, and we get to do this through our social media, our podcast devotional, and our cosplay and fashion. And you can find links to all of that through our website, www.fangirlingoverjesus.com, through our social media at Fangirlingoverjesus, wherever you get your podcasts, and on Etsy. See you online.
And lead me on to your kingdom come, surrendering, let your work be done. My life I give for the glory of your Son.
Thank you so much for joining me every week on the Christian Nerd Unite podcast. Recently, we helped launch the Christian Nerd HQ podcast network. The network releases content every day. Christian Nerd Unite on Mondays, Tatooine Sons on Tuesdays, Fangirling Over Jesus on Wednesdays, The Reverend and the Reprobate on Thursday, and the Speaking Nerdy podcast every Friday. Make sure you go to ChristianNerdHQ.com to follow all the podcasts and check out the Christian Nerd HQ YouTube channel for exclusive content we're making together, like our recent live stream about the new Flash movie. Let's read some scripture. Let's read Colossians 3:12 through 17. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves in compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body, you were called to peace. And be thankful. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly as you teach and admonish one another with all wisdom through psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts. And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. I love hearing this passage, especially verse 16. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly as you teach and admonish one another. The verse makes some assumptions that believers will know the message of Christ, the gospel, and that we will teach others. This past week, I helped coach believers in some hard areas. They're making disciples in locations that simply saying you are a Christian may cause your family to disown you or have the community become violent toward you. These are brave men and women of God sharing the gospel even when it may bring them harm themselves. I pray that we will take a cue from these strong believers and know the gospel well and teach it to those around us no matter the cost. Now let's look at some nerdy news. After last week's lackluster box office results from DC's The Flash and Disney's Elemental, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse tops the box office again this weekend with $19 million domestically after being in theaters for 4 weekends already. Now with a total domestic gross of over $317 million and crossing the $500 million mark worldwide, the Spider-Man animated film is a great success for Sony. The new Marvel Disney Plus series, Secret Invasion, released last week, and many artists are up in arms about the opening sequence, that it was created using AI tools, artificial intelligence. In a prepared statement for the Hollywood Reporter, Method Studios said AI is just one tool among the array of tools our artists used. No artist jobs were replaced by incorporating these new tools. Instead, they complemented and assisted our creative teams. The use of AI in production is a controversial subject right now, with the possible use of AI being part of the dispute in the Writers Guild strike. Expect to see more use of AI and more controversy as these new tools become more mainstream. Along with many release delays announced last week, Marvel has stated they will not be having a Hall H presentation at the San Diego Comic-Con this year. Reports do say they will have a presence at the convention floor, but with the writer's strike and the film delays, it looks like Marvel will not have any major announcements that would give them a good reason to host a Hall H panel. Arve Solli is the game designer of GateZero, a new Bible-based video game that places the player in the first century Israel, created in Unreal Engine 5. Players will experience stories from the gospel while completing quests. Their Kickstarter funded in just 79 hours, and it's still open as of the release of this podcast. It really does look amazing, and I'm super interested in what is going to come from this. Let's get right into our interview. Arve, it is so good to have you on the Christian Nerds Unite podcast today.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
I'm excited to find out more about what you're doing. Now, you're with Bible X, and you have been working on a project called GateZero, a video game. Can tell us a little bit about what Bible X is and what GateZero really is all about.
GateZero is all about bringing Jesus to the next generation. Basically, we want to make the Bible reachable to people that play games, basically, and it's a lot of them. So we kind of look at ourselves as digital missionaries in a way. There's a huge potential in making the scripture and the events from the Gospels available in a format where you can interact with the characters. You can dive into the huge world of Israel back 2,000 years ago, and you can use a lot of time to understand the context and everything. So that's basically what it's all about.
Very cool. And what got you guys started on this idea that a video game was the right way to share the stories from the Gospels?
I mean, it started out in 2020 when we were creating. I've been working with creating content for youth and youth groups for about many years. And in 2020 or 2019, it started out. We were preparing this huge live event for a youth club. They were gathering about 5,000 people to this huge Easter camp that was going to be held in 2020. But it was COVID that time, so the story changed a little bit. But what we basically prepared was a interactive tour made in Unreal Engine to be able to explore the temple and to have a Bible study interacting with the temple. And they were studying the letters to the Hebrews. So we were making a lot of animation films, telling the stories and exploring and explaining the different chapters of the letters to the Hebrew. And it was going to be ended, and this huge climax on this camp was going to be inside of the temple to be able to see and understand all these different aspects of the temple. So then 3 weeks before that, everything changed. It was cancelled. The flights was cancelled. Everybody was going to travel to gather to this event, but it ended. It went in another direction. So then we had available resources and also a model of the temple. So we were thinking, what are we going to do with this? And then the idea came. We have this huge. We made the whole of Jerusalem 1-to-1 in the model. So
Wow.
what about if we take this further into a video game? And we did some marketing research and tested out some prototypes, and we found out really quick that this was a huge potential. So then we started concept development, and yeah, ended up where we are now, a couple of years later.
That's fantastic. And I've seen some of the visuals. It looks really stunning.
Thank you.
It is an amazing work that you guys have done. How big is the scope? The now you said it's 1-to-1 of Jerusalem.
Mhm.
How big is kind of the scope of the game? Like uh, what does this look like practically for somebody
We
who's going to play it?
Yeah, we have the goal is of course to make all the events from the Gospels, and then we
Mm.
have to make, of course, whole of Jerusalem and the cities and the areas around it, and also we have to make Capernaum in north of Israel, and
Mm.
also some other small cities to be able to cover all these events. So our dream is to make a semi-open or open world game where you can
Okay.
explore and basically use a lot of time in this world to like feel and breathe in this. I mean, it's a parallel world kind of if you dive into this to understand the context and the social situation and the political situation back then. So
Mm.
we basically want the player to be able to use a lot of time in there and to take in the sounds and the sights of this huge world.
And who do you actually play? What is the role that the player plays in this game?
You start out in the future, actually, in year
Hmm.
2072 as a
Okay.
player character called Max. He and his cousin Hector, they have gotten a mission from their grandmother, a riddle that they want to solve because their grandmother was a God-fearing woman, and
Hmm.
they looked up to her, but they are struggling a lot themselves. So they want to try to find out what was the secret for their grandmother. So she gave them a riddle, and she told them, "You have to find out about my pearl." She tells them. So then
Hmm.
they are using Hector's time machine to be able to travel back to these events and search for the pearl. And when they are searching for the pearl, they find out that this pearl is maybe not a physical thing; it's something inside. And then they are
Hmm.
discovering all these aspects and solving puzzles and solving mysteries and going on this adventure back in time.
Very nice. Now, is it very? You said it was more open world. Is kind of the concept. But do you get into like to see the stories happening? How does that all work with an open world kind of setting?
Yeah, we are. I'm a bit careful with saying open world. That's why I also said semi-open world because it totally depends on the budget. But we have, as you know, we have a Kickstarter running right now,
Hmm.
and one of the stretch goals for that Kickstarter is more areas to explore and also more content in those areas to explore.
Hmm.
But we put a lot of effort into making cutscenes and to tell the stories basically. So
Hmm.
our goal is to make 1 hour of cutscenes per release. So
Okay.
I would say per 40 of the events, 1 hour of cutscenes.
Hmm. Okay. Now, and what will the cutscenes consist of?
So, for example, we had when we made the prototype for. I haven't told you about that, but we made a prototype last year
Okay.
where we tested out the core concept with this youth group that I told you
Okay.
about. So they were waiting. They were supposed to use it as an interactive Bible study tool, but then 2 years later, they actually got to test out the prototype of the game instead. So to that prototypes session, we made 9 hours of gameplay with
Hmm.
1 hour of cutscene. And for example, one of the cutscenes there are when you come to Jerusalem in year 12 when Jesus is just a kid
Hmm.
to Easter, and Max then meets Joseph and Maria searching for Jesus, and when he at the end of that gameplay, he ends up inside of the temple where he sees Jesus teaching the scribes and the Pharisees. So that's one of the cutscenes. We have made a small little film about that situation. So
Oh, wow.
the reason we do that, we want to like show how it could be, how it could been laid out when Jesus was sitting there. How you get a feel of who this little boy was, and actually he was a boy like me when he was 12 years old. So that's one example.
That's fantastic. Now, I've talked with a lot of artists, mostly comic book artists, that have done some Bible-based comics, and to kind of equate this to that, there was kind of two different views on doing Bible-based comics. Some people I talked to kind of take a lot of liberty, but tell the story as honestly as possible, with some liberties involved. Another gentleman that I talked to does a Bible-based comic book that's absolutely word for word. He doesn't add anything to it. He doesn't subtract anything from it. The only liberties he takes is how he lays out the imagery for the text. So where does this kind of fall into that category? Are we getting Bible text, or are we getting something that is more of we're going to kind of tell the story, but we're not going to necessarily quote the scripture literally?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and one thing we have been working a lot with to find our way. Basically, what we do is we want to be as true as possible to the Bible, of course, and we are really serious about that when it comes to the visual part, but also the text part. So I mean, the actors are not reading King James version of the Bible, but we are trying to interpret as close to as it was. For example, Jesus, we don't want to put words in Jesus' mouth.
Okay.
We want to make him say only and nothing more and nothing different than what it's written, and then we sometimes use the how do you say it, the version which is most like in Norwegian we say something that doesn't sound written, but
conversational.
Yes, exactly. We use the version that are more most conversational.
Okay.
So that's how we approach that. We are putting some situations in among the disciples, trying to like explore that a little, but in general we are really serious about this, and we have a huge respect of like changing up things.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned that you play Max as a character. Did I see something about building a group of players, or did I misread that? How does that work? How does that work when you're, when initially the game is just you are playing Max?
Yeah, that's a good question. We think that Christianity is fellowship, and that's also Jesus' words. We want to make young people able to play together, and families to play together, children to play together with their parents, to have a good time together, but also like be able to discuss things together, because we think that having a game as a starter for conversations is a really good thing. So from the start, we decided that we want to explore this feature we're now called co-play, which is kind of a couch co-op mechanic, where you one PC player play as Max, and then you join in on your phones to be able to help the player on different. You can like we have something called Hector's Archive, where you gather information or do Bible research and then contribute to the player with your knowledge and your wisdom.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. And actually, the other day we had a guy tested out our demo on his stream, and he played a mini game we made called Catch the Lambs together with his viewers. So then there's a mini game where you play as Max. You are going to gather some lambs for a little friend in Jerusalem, and then as a mobile player, you are disturbing the lambs so Max can catch them and get it into the fence again. So yeah, that's some examples of what the co-play part is, and that's also what we tested out with the youth group. They were 5,000 youth divided
wow.
into I think 900 groups.
Oh,
So
wow.
they had a kind of a competition between those groups. So it actually worked really well, and we are now further developing that. We are now further developing that together with the single player functionality.
Very nice. Do you expect to do any kind of multiplayer version in the future? Is that something that you've discussed, or have you decided that's just not the direction you're going?
I mean, for now, it's not the direction we're going, but I mean, we always dream about that. But I think it's it's too far into the future, because we are. I think we should try to make what we have already as good as possible, and also make the couch co-op functionality as good as possible.
Very cool. Now, when I'm so you talked a little bit about GateZero and how it all started. Now, so Bible X is the company that's behind this.
Bible X is actually the working title, the previous working title
Oh,
that we used from
okay,
the start.
okay.
But we are moving more over to GateZero, but we are doing it slowly, so people are following along, basically.
Okay, that makes more sense now.
Yeah.
In my brain, I was trying to gather information before our call, and I was trying to figure out exactly what everything was. So that makes so much more sense.
Totally understand.
So Bible X versus GateZero. What does GateZero actually mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have been working a lot with that title. We have when we started we had to change the name because we want to make like a game title for this. So when we started out doing that, we found out that what do you say? Trademarking a game name is not an easy thing. So I think we have been
the name for a podcast is difficult as well.
Exactly,
yes.
Yeah. So I think we have been exploring about 200 different names and use a couple of months on this, of course, together with a lot of other stuff. But the name means Hector's and Max's gate back to the original, back to zero, back to basics, basically. So what we want to do is, I mean, Christianity have grown really, really into a lot of directions, and I think a lot of people are looking for unity and also looking for things to gather around in the world we live in, and what we are trying to do, that's also what our vision from the start was, that we wanted to kind of jump over this 2,000 years of history and go back to the source and hear the words from Jesus' mouth directly. So the name comes from that, and it's actually also, of course, the name of Hector's time machine. It's his gate into the old city and back to the origin, basically.
Makes sense. Now, when we're looking at gameplay, you mentioned something earlier, I think in passing, something about a puzzle. What kind of gameplay mechanics are we going to see? The game side versus the watching the cutscenes of what's happening.
Of course, yeah, we're trying to knit it together so it's like one thing. So it's not like gameplay and then cutscene, but we want to make it like the same thing. So we have three gameplay pillars, which is
Okay.
story, exploration, and danger or stealth or whatever you can call it. But basically, the story part is that it's all about story. It's all about trying to solve this mission from Grandma and then dive into the events and the stories from the Bible. The second one, exploring, is about exploring this world of ancient Jerusalem and exploring all the contextual things and stuff like that. And the danger part is of course when you get friend with Jesus and his disciples, you're also taking on kind of their relationship with the Romans and their relationship with the Pharisees. So you have to avoid danger, and we have then made some stealth mechanics. So you have to like sneak into restricted areas and stuff like that. The exploration part is we have gather and craft mechanics, and you have to like find ingredients. You have to find, for example, you have to, when you see in a cutscene inside of the temple, there's missing one of the showbreads in where the priests are doing their service. So then you are going to find out how to gather or find another missing. It's supposed to be 12 breads, right? So then you have to like gather the ingredients and then craft a new bread to be able to proceed in the gameplay. That's one example. And for example, if you're going to get into the temple itself, you have to be one of the Levi priests. It was only the tribe of Levi that was able to serve in the temple. So then you have to find a priest robe and try to like talk to people and do solve some puzzles to be able to find that one.
Nice. Now, I know you guys are based in Norway.
Yeah.
Is this game going to be multilingual? Do you have plans? What does that all look like for you guys going forward?
Yeah, the game is already fully voiced in English and translated with subtitles and interface into 12 languages.
Wow.
So we see a huge importance in doing that because we want to bring it to as many people as possible.
Do you mind sharing what languages right now?
I can't remember them from the top of my head, but I can look into the Kickstarter where they are listed.
They're listed there. Okay.
Just a minute.
Well, I can check that out.
Let me scroll down. Here they are: English, French, Italian, German, Dutch, Norwegian, Russian, Simplified Chinese, Traditional Chinese, Turkish, Finnish, Hungarian, Polish, Romanian, Portuguese, Brazil, Spanish, Latin America.
Okay.
And English voices. We want to make the voices into Spanish and maybe others as well, but that's also a money question.
Gotcha. Now, you do have a Kickstarter going on right now.
Yeah, we have.
And I know just before you and I got on this call, we actually double checked it, and you guys are just about $7,000 away.
Yeah.
I have every expectation by the time this episode actually releases that you will have reached your goal based on that information. So if you reach your goal, how far does that put you into the process of finishing the game versus, what do you need to reach for this to be something much larger or much grander than what you already have planned right now?
Yeah, so according to the speed we are going in right now, we are going to reach the goal within hours. And that's many days since when you are hearing this podcast, I guess.
Yeah.
So we have a base goal of 200,000 euros. It's about $215,000. And then we have something called stretch goals on Kickstarter, which is like additional goals we want to achieve, and additional elements and functionalities and
what are some of those?
The first one after the base game is additional Bible events. It's about 15 more events from the Bible, from the Gospels in first release. about approximately 3 hours of gameplay. And then we want to add new locations. For example, areas around Jordan River and Nazareth Village. And after that, more quests and world events. And after that, two huge ones, which is Xbox port and PlayStation port.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, a
So,
lot
so
of people, a lot of our, I think our core audience is more of a casual gamer kind of. So
mhm.
there's a huge potential in that, and I think a lot of people are actually on the fence because of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is
I
interesting, and
was
I hope we can move towards that as fast as possible.
I was actually going to ask: is this a PC exclusive game, or do you have some other plans?
Hmm.
Is this more of an online kind of gaming experience with a base install, or is this more of a when you install the game, everything's going to be local on your computer?
It's the last option.
Okay.
It's not online. It's a local game
Okay.
experience. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that wasn't clear to me when I was uh, checking everything out.
Okay. Okay. Was there
But
something specific that told you otherwise?
no, I wasn't sure. It just
Okay.
wasn't clear to me either way.
Okay. Okay.
Um, that's not a critique. That was just
No, no. It's
I was just looking at things and I saw specs for computer but
yeah.
I was like, is this a I come from a world of I played a lot of World of Warcraft,
Okay. Yeah.
which although you have a lot installed on your computer is still technically an online platform that
Hmm.
you have
Yeah.
to have access outside your computer for.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure where this one fell into that
No.
category.
Yeah. We have online storage or cloud-based storage or like your state in the game and your position and stuff like that. But that's not you can play it offline as well.
Very cool. What are the future plans for GateZero or for for the ministry that you guys are in? Is it to just continue to make GateZero larger, or do you have other projects that are kind of in the works or in thoughts for the future? What does that look like for your organization?
Yeah, that's a good question. We are planning to. I mean, our dream is to make all the stories from the gospel. So that's
Mm,
about 134 different events from
mm,
Jesus' life. So we want to make a complete from Jesus being born to his death available in the video game. So the first release is covering about 1/4 of that. So
mm.
we want to make 4 releases and an additional Christmas
Okay.
DLC. That's our dream.
Mm.
That's what we have in like mapped out on our screens today. Of course, we have other dreams as well in the future, like making something around Paul and his
Oh, okay.
missionary, his travelings around Europe. And a lot of people ask about the Old Testament, and they want some more action. Uh, we don't know about that yet, but you never know.
Nice. Well, with where you guys are on your Kickstarter,
Hmm.
I feel like I mean your Kickstarter's only been going for 4 days, and you're probably going to uh, meet your goal before the end of today, U.S. time.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely before the end of day tomorrow, Norwegian time.
Hmm.
Um, but with this kind of if this pace holds up, I can see you having the funds to do a lot of what you're talking about.
Hmm. Yeah, that's right.
And how how excited were you to get to bring this game to life finally?
I mean, we this week I might seem calm right now, but this week have been a roller coaster because it's just so intense when you launch the campaign, and we actually reached 50% the first night. So
Wow.
that was incredible. And then we went to bed and wake up next morning, and we saw an additional high pace on the numbers. So it's really it's really tense, and it's really stressing, and it's also a huge what do you say, huge celebration for us to be able to achieve this. Yeah, and we can't I can't imagine what the future will bring if we keep up the pace. We also are going to do another funding other funding activities as well. So we
Hmm.
are going to make this happen no matter what. We just what we experience when we tell people about the game is that they understand it right away what we're trying to do, and they also almost everyone, I would say everyone, they say like this is something we have been waiting for. So it's all about getting this in front of as enough people, because
Hmm.
there's a lot of people out there, but it's expensive to do marketing. So
Hmm.
what we hope is that people, they talk around about it and tell their friends and family. Then there's no limits for what we can do.
That's great. Well, I am super excited about what you guys are doing. It looks amazing. I really love the art style and the look that you've put into the game. I think it's going to be a great tool and a great game as
Mhm.
well. Um, how can people keep up with? Now, obviously, you have the Kickstarter, but how
Mhm.
can people keep up with you and with the game as it progresses? Now, I know before the podcast started, you mentioned something about the actual release is probably going to be sometime in 2024.
Yeah, that's right.
So, how do people keep up with you guys until the game is finally ready to release?
We have a Discord server, of course, if you are really
Okay.
into that. It's a lot of activity there. We're about 5,000 on that server right now. We have all social channels, so you can follow us there. Yeah, and also wishlist it on Steam, then you will get all the updates, basically. So
Hmm.
if you do that, you will be a part of something big, and we are going to make this game no matter what, and we want to bring Jesus to the next generation. That's our dream. We see a huge need and huge potential in this,
Hmm.
because gaming and interactive media it's the most impactful medium ever.
Hmm.
It's also a bigger industry than music and films combined. So there's just about time that someone do this, and it's needed to be done. And yeah, we yeah, it's you have to cut this a little bit, but yeah.
This is definitely an amazing step beyond the old Nintendo Bible games
Hmm.
that existed in the 90s.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm super excited about it. Using Unreal Engine to generate the the world, and every time I hop on your website and look at some of the graphics, I'm blown away with what you guys are trying to do.
Thank you very much. I hope also we are also, I mean, we put a lot of effort into also making the content great, because we really want to make the younger generation and the players able to understand, and to like
Mm,
be able to, before they take decisions for their life, to be able to understand what they are going away from, or what they are
mm,
going into, so they can actually take decisions based on that, and not decision based on that they don't understand things, and church is boring and church is hard to understand. But we want to make them able to understand this fantastic message and what Jesus actually came for. So if we can achieve that, we have I think we can be happy.
awesome. As a game designer, this is something that you're excited about.
Hmm.
How does it make you feel to be able to use those nerdy skills that you've developed over the years in a form of ministry.
Yeah, that's basically why I wake up every morning, and that's also why when it gets hard, because it's really hard to to make games and to like survive in this world. But that's why we just keep on pushing, because it's our dream to do it, and it's like what we want to do. So to be able to do that and use our skills in this way, it's I think it's a blessing to be able to do that, basically.
Awesome. Yeah, my audience knows that I am a big proponent of using your nerdy skills
Yeah,
for the Lord in any way you possibly can.
yeah,
So it's always good to see somebody being able to do that kind of work.
yeah. And I strongly believe that the most powerful message out there should be emphasized and distributed to the strongest and most impactful medium out there. It's needed and it should be done.
Awesome. Well, Arve, it has been great having you on the Christian Nerd Unite podcast today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It was great getting to know Arve. I hope you will consider supporting the Kickstarter. There are still a few days left. Check out the links down in the show notes below and to find out more about the game and how you can be a part. Well, that's all I have for you today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, click, just click all those buttons down there, whatever they are. That way you can keep up with us and you'll be informed anytime we put out new content. You can find all of our social links to our YouTube channel, and to our online store at ChristianNerdsUnite.com. If you enjoy the show and want to help even more, consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. We've changed all of our Patreon levels last year, and every level has great benefits and makes a huge difference in the ministry we're able to do. Supporters will get to hear exclusive stories of believers we're serving around the world through our ministry partners. To check it out or to partner with us, go to patreon.com/ChristianNerdUnite or ChristianNerdUnite.com and click support in the menu. And don't forget to check out ChristianNerdHQ.com for more great podcasts. Before you go, I want to leave you with this blessing from John 14:27. These are the words of Jesus. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give you as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, and do not be afraid. We'll see you next week. Blessings.
Hey,